Welcome to Milk and Honey. My name is Mari. Today I want to share about the spiritual realm, things I have seen, things I have witnessed with my own eyes. But before we get to that topic, if you are in the Jacksonville area, there is a festival going on right now. It's called Festival of Hope. It's September 6th, so I'll put in the information. But if you are in the area, please go. It's gonna be free food, free haircuts. I think they're gonna be giving away clothing. They're gonna live worship, and obviously the Word of God. And also, if you are, I'm gonna share my church that I go to. It is Journey Church, and we are having some events coming up. But if you're able to go to Encounter Night, please do. It is a beautiful. I'm always there at Encounter Night, but there's also baptisms coming up. So let's go into what I have seen. The reason I want to share all that I have seen and witnessed is because to let people know that we are not fighting against people, because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but we wrestle against principalities, powers of darkness. I really want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. When you guys are struggling with something, know that there is a spirit behind that. I have previously shared that before moving to Florida from Chicago, my marriage was in a very delicate state. We were about to basically call it quits. And this is when everything supernatural started to manifest in the physical. So my husband and I were fighting. I mean, we both were angry at each other and we both were fighting each other. Around this time is when I gave my life to Christ. I started going to church and the whole 9 yards. But at my house, things were still being chaotic, because my husband hated me and I was starting to hate my husband too. We used to live in the basement, right? And in the basement, I think the ceilings were no more than 6 feet and a half tall. I don't know. When I reached my hand up high, I could touch the ceiling. And I used to keep a lot of our clothing or stuff in totes, plastic totes. And there was this area where the plastic totes fit perfectly and I could stack them up all the way to the ceiling. And there was no way that those plastic totes could fall because they would reach the ceiling. So there's no tilting forward, there's no tilting backwards, there's no tilting sideways because it was jammed in between like a wall and like a half of a wall. So I stacked all of those totes on top of each other. And one day there was a big fight. There was a big, huge fight in our home between myself and my husband. And after the fight was done, I went to our room and he went to the living room, and my room was next to where I had put the totes. I heard a big loud noise, and I went to check outside because it was outside of our door. So I went to check what was going on, and I noticed that the one of the totes looked like it had been pulled, but it was only one, and it had fallen to the floor. There's no way that could physically happen. Now this is just like I'm starting with the low things. I'm starting with like baby stuff. Again, fighting. This whole fighting with my husband and I went for a while. So the next thing is that I had this like porcelain jar, like a pitcher, and it was all the way next to the wall. And all of a sudden we hear like a scraping, like, and then a shatter. And we were like outside of our kitchen, like everything was like open space in the basement. And when we heard that, we knew that nobody was in the kitchen, but that pitcher of glass had fallen. It literally sounded like like somebody like was dragging it on top of the counter, and then like it fell and broke. So this happened a couple of times. My husband said that he also saw like a black shadow just quickly go like in front of him. While all of these things were manifesting, like I said, I had given my life to Christ. I was going to church. I was interceding for my marriage, even though I didn't want to be married at that particular time. I was still interceding, and I gave my life to Christ. I gave my marriage to Christ. I gave my children to Christ. So, and I told God, I'm like, Lord, I put everything in your hands. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. And the Lord told me, I want you to fight for your marriage. So I was fighting for my marriage in the spirit and in the physical. Now, this is where it's going to be a little bit TMI. So just warning. When you join with somebody, when you're intimate with somebody, your body and your soul becomes one. So whatever the other person has or is struggling with comes to you if you're not in a covenant, if you're not inside of a marriage, if you're not praying for each other, right? So this is where the TMI comes from. Even though I had already given my life to Christ and I was fighting for my marriage, there's still a lot of things in me that I was struggling with. I am a believer of deliverance. I am a believer of, it's biblical, that we need to be delivered from things that can only be delivered by fasting and prayer. I'm just setting the whole mood, okay? My husband and I were starting to get physical, intimate, grown-up talk, right? We were starting to get, I'm not gonna look at you guys, I'm gonna look somewhere else so that I could just spill it out. My husband and I were starting to be intimate, and while that was going on, my husband was like, whoa. And I'm like, and he's like, your entire eyes turned black. Like there was no white. From what he said, there was no white in my eyes. It's like all black. And I'll post pictures and you could clearly see the difference in people's eyes when they are struggling with something. Now the pictures I'm gonna post are kind of cringy, but so that you guys could see that reference between who I was then and who I am now, you could clearly see it in my eyes. So I was SA when I was very young. When traumatic things like that happened, I am a believer that curses or spiritual attachments happen to you, to that person, the innocent, like a transfer of evil spirits are done when you are committing that act on an innocent child or an innocent person. Oh yes, I did struggle a lot with lustfulness, selfishness, like that Jezebel spirit, like seductive spirit. I did have struggle with that back then, and you could clearly see in my eyes. So that was one of what my husband witnessed. So now let me tell you what I witnessed myself. And again, TMI, a lot of these things happened when we were doing things that married couples do. So while I was trying to seek the Lord, fight for my marriage, a lot of things transpired in our marriage, a lot of hurtful things happened, but I was still being obedient to the Lord when the Lord told me, I want you to fight for your marriage. So I was still, praying for my husband, praying for my marriage. And again, in another instance, when we were doing things that married couples do, I saw this big, tall, I'm telling you that my basement was pretty short, and this figure reached the top of my ceiling, so maybe like 6.5 feet, 7 feet tall. But it was, like that horse bottom or donkey bottom, I don't know, like a horse legs with like the hoofs, and the torso of a human, very muscular, and the face of a bull with like the really, really strong arms and tall. And I remember it seeing like with like red eyes. I saw that while we were, and I was not scared. It was the very first time that I have seen something in the, like physical form. A lot of the times when you are interceding or you are praying for someone, you'll get images, and that is basically when the Lord is showing you what that person is fighting with, or something that is attached to them, or something that wants to come and be in their life spiritually. But this is the very first time that I saw something in the physical. Like, I could see it. It wasn't transparent. It was solid, a solid thing that I could see that was probably like 5 feet away from me. And like I said, I had no fear. And I believe the Lord allowed me to see this thing so that I could be aware of what was getting in between my marriage, the spiritual battle that I was fighting against, this demonic thing that my marriage was going through, attacking my marriage. And a lot of people I know say they blame everything on the demonic, but we also give the demonic legal rights with our decisions that we make. So be very careful with what you delve into. And for me, I believe it was what I struggled for the longest time is generational curses. I am first generational Christian that actually prays and intercedes for my family, for my children, for my marriage. And I have asked the Lord, it's very important that when you're praying, you ask the Lord for him to show you what you need to ask forgiveness for. I also, in my prayers, I'm like, Lord, forgive 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 generations on my mother's side and on my father's side. So those breaking generational curses. So for me, I believe those were the things that I was struggling with, generational curses. And also because I was as aid when I was little, whatever demonic spirits of lust and just perversity entered me, I had a little bit more understanding, and back then, because I was able to see what I was actually fighting against. So I have only had 2 physical apparitions, like in the natural. The other one is I saw what will be an incubus or a succubus. I think the incubus is the male version, because when I saw it, it felt like it had male energy. So I think it was attached to me. But again, we were in our marital bed, and this thing just popped like right next to me. Like, I could see it. Like, it was on like my bed frame. And I could see it, and it was like, again, no fear. I was just very aware that it was there, and I was like just like staring at it. And I only saw it for maybe 5 seconds, and then it went away. This is a grown-up conversation that we are having today, right? I believe there are things that you shouldn't be doing in your marital bed, and that's a lot of conversation that a lot of people don't like to have. But I will not tell you what you can do or what you shouldn't do in your marital bed. That's between you and the Holy Spirit. I know there are things that the Holy Spirit had told me that shouldn't be done, but I do know that we are meant to enjoy each other, and that was, the Lord made it for our enjoyment. I don't want people to get religious over this as well, because that could hinder your marriage as well. So just pray about it, take it to the Lord, make sure that that aspect of your relationship, it's not lacking. I'm talking to myself here, okay? But yeah, this thing, it was clearly, it had like a grin. The picture that I'm gonna post up, it looked very similar, but not quite, because the whole face had hair, but I could see the eyes were like very round, kind of like bulging, and like the smile was kind of like a creepy smile, kind of like the Alice in Wonderland cat, just like creepy and up. And every time I've seen this, when I did see this thing, it had like very elongated arms and like legs, but it was like a 3-foot creature, like a 3-foot creature with like hair maybe like that long, but very sleek, but like very, very like, it wasn't like sparse, it had like very, very like all completely covered. So incubus could also be like a soul tie, just like a spiritual attachment. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something. Incubus is something that's attached to you, and it could have gotten attached to you when I got as aid, or when you are having, fornicating, when you're having sex outside of your marriage, outside of the covenant. All of these things do get attached to you, so you need to be very, very aware of what you're doing, to make sure that it's just not a fun night that you are putting yourself in, that has repercussions, and it has spiritual attachments. And once these things get attached, there's things that you could only get delivered from with prayer and fasting, and from doing like a deliverance. So if you are new to being a Christian, deliverance is basically when it could happen by yourself at your home, just you surrendering to the Lord and going into fasting. Fasting is when you don't eat for a period of time. You could do a Daniel fast, which is just like juices, or you could do an all water fast, meaning like no food, just water, or you could just have nothing. That is the biblical fast. Fasting from your phone, fasting from TV, that is not a biblical fast. Fasting is denying your flesh substance. And then also, usually when you're fasting, shouldn't be any sexual activity. And you should be dwelling in the word and seeking the Lord, you're basically telling the Lord, I want you more than I want to satisfy my flesh. But deliverance could happen in my home. I have gotten, I believe, delivered just by me praising and crying to the Lord. And I just felt like, it manifests sometimes physically, like you want to start coughing, throwing up, you just like regurgitating, burping, spitting, a lot of those things. Also like crying, you just want to cry or just want to scream. That is like you're releasing that spiritual attachment, whatever is bothering you at that moment. But a lot of the time, is done by church, is done by intercessors, done by women or men. If you're a man, you want to go to your man. If women, you want to go to your women, just so that we could keep it clean, right? So like ladies from church, I'm talking about myself. If you're a gentleman, the gentleman from church will pray for you and fast for you and intercede for you. I'm basically like praying and asking God that basically whatever is in you to manifest, so that it could like leave. And a lot of times it could be done little by little, or like a big chunk here and a big chunk there, but it's a process. It is a process. I do want to warn people, be very careful who lays hands on you, because if that person is not spiritually grounded, it could be more damaging. And also, when you are doing deliverance and it is biblical. Okay, when Jesus went and saw that man and delivered that man from those tormenting spirits called legion, those spirits went and looked for a body, right? and there was nobody, so they found pigs, and then the pigs, they went into the pigs, and then the pigs went into the ocean because they couldn't tolerate the torment themselves. So when you are being delivered, when you are putting yourself in that place of I don't want this anymore, make sure that when your heart is being delivered from those demonic entities, that your heart is clean, that you seek God, and then you fill your heart with God, because those spirits will go, and if they don't find where to go and get into, they will come back 7 times stronger. So you do not want to mess with deliverance. Make sure that your heart is in the correct place, because if you are doing it just for giggles here and there, it's gonna go way worse. So make sure that you are in a point of your life where like, I am done, I want to be clean from this, I don't want nothing to do with this, and set your heart with God. Fill your heart with the Holy Spirit, because our God dwells in us, in our hearts. So make sure that the demons don't have where to come back. And also, a lot of the times when we are praying, we could ask God to show us what we are fighting against, to show us what we need to pray against. And a lot of the things that I have seen in dreams, because I am a dreamer. And I also believe I am a seer, so I could see and I dream. But the Lord has shown me a lot of things that I needed to ask forgiveness for my ancestors that run in like generational curses. Witchcraft was one of them. But I was also able to see the stronghold, how big of this principality it was. When I saw it, I saw the principality that was attached to me, that like circle around me. It was as big as the Statue of Liberty. Like, it was as big as the Statue of Liberty. And I was like, oh crap, this thing is humongous. So I'm gonna say sexual sin is one of the hardest sins to get rid of, because is in the Bible, in a lot of the things it says pray against, fight against, but sexual sin, it says flee against. And that's because it is very, very hard to get rid of, unfortunately. But yeah, but it's not impossible, okay? Living testimony right here, okay? Living testimony. But I will show pictures. Because I look at old pictures of my son, I'm like, ooh, what's wrong with you? Like, your eyes look like Fuchi, and you could see a difference between now, who I am now, and who I was then. And it's been a process, okay? It's been a process. It didn't happen overnight for me. You have to keep working on it. I'm going to share this last bit. It came through a dream. We had barely gotten here to Florida. This was like 4 years ago. In this dream, so when I came to Christ, a group of church ladies from my church from Chicago came to my home, and we prayed over my home, and basically they prayed over me, and I exposed all my sins that I thought that I had done, like being selfish, adultery, fornication, blah blah blah. So in my dream, this particular sister in Christ, she was praying over me again in my dream. And when she was praying, something manifested in me, and I started to like try to claw her face and scratch her face. And she said, I don't care what you are trying to do, I'm going to keep praying for you. And then in that dream, she was asking whatever was behind me, that spirit, to manifest and to show itself, and to like, what's your name? And I am one that I don't go look into demonology. Is that the term? I don't, because I know myself. And before I was in the walk of Christ, I was like so into aliens and the Egypts and that kind of stuff. So I don't want to, I want to fix my eyes on Jesus and not on the dark, not in the occult. Okay, so in that dream, she asked whatever was behind me to, reveal itself. And it said that its name was Osmadeos. And I had to look it up again because that word is not, it wasn't in my vocabulary. It wasn't in my mind. I have not heard that name. This was 4 years ago. But when I woke up, that's basically that the name. What I had it. So as soon as I woke up, I'm like, Osmadeo, what is that? So I Googled it, and it is like a very strong principality, like strong, nasty principality. So after that, I'm like, okay, I need to get deliverance, because whatever this thing is, it is still lurking in the backgrounds. And in another dream, I saw this spirit sitting on a table, maybe like 15 feet away from me, and it was just looking at me. And I'm like, why do you keep looking at me? Like, leave me alone. And this thing was like, you were my favorite, I want you were my favorite. And I'm like, why do you want me? You have so many around you that want to be with you, that are following you. Why do you want me? And that he said, because you were my favorite. So yeah, I woke up from that dream. I was like, ooh, that's no, that was like gross. But that's just, I am sharing this just so that you know that we are not wrestling against people when people have so many attachments, spiritual things with them, and they think, oh, I'm this way, I was born this way. No, you weren't. Those generational curses, those are traumas from your past that gave legal way for spirits to manifest in you and to work through you and to do things that are just going to cause harm to other people and to yourself. That you are basically going to be condemning yourself to eternal hell. So that is why I am sharing this with you. So if you have been unfaithful, if you have been a cheater, if you have been cheated on, most likely those things are attached to this person, because in one way or another a door was opened, and it is our job to find that door and to shut it, to ask forgiveness. For me, it was asking forgiveness for generational curses. For me, it was forgiving my abuser, and also forgiving myself, and just walking with Christ. And I do want to say, there is nothing, not anyone, that it is more powerful than Jesus himself. Okay, Jesus himself. And if we are following Jesus, that's all we need. But it is a process, and I am a believer of deliverance, fasting and prayer, so that you could be delivered from these attachments. So now that you know my story, have you seen anything? Have you witnessed anything? One of the things that I also feel when there's negative energy around, negative energy is like demonic energy. I feel it physically. Like, I've described it before as like restless leg syndrome, and just feeling icky. Like, your body just feels like you just need to get up and shake it off. That's how I feel. And usually when I feel those things, I rebuke it. I start praying. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what this is. It's not welcome in my home. It's not welcome near my family. It's not welcome with me. Please show me, like, what's going on. And usually something tends to be happening around that time. So, like, something's going on. This is the last thing that I will share. So this happened to someone And so it didn't happen to me personally, but I know of someone that this happened to. So this was this couple were in a relationship, and a lot of stuff went between them, but they broke up like a while ago. And then this the gentleman passed away, and when the gentleman passed away, the lady, she started to feel some sort of way. She started to feel like suicidal thoughts. She started to feel like she wasn't worth anything. She started to feel all these feelings rush to her at once. And later on, we found out that this gentleman committed suicide, and at the same moment that she was feeling this way. So either she was feeling this way because that spiritual husband attachment, or because he had already passed, and those demons, whatever he was dealing with, were trying to find somewhere new to go, and they wanted to enter her. But she is a follower of Christ, and she received prayer, and she doesn't feel that way anymore. It was just in that moment. So be very careful again with who you lay with, who you share that intimate moments with, and make sure it's inside of a covenant, because a covenant is protect us from all of those things. And if we're not protected, being protected by the Almighty High, then these things happen. So make sure that you are following Christ the correct way. So that is it for today. I know it's a lot was said and done. But yeah, well, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Don't forget, if you're in the Jacksonville area, please do try to go to these events. For me, going to church is not enough. Just for me, I'm just saying, for me personally, I like to be involved, because when you're involved in groups, that's when real change happens for me. Yes, you go to church and people pray for you, but you need to be involved. You need to be of service. God was of service, and we need to be of service as well. But yeah, if you're in the Jacksonville area, please do join one of these events. They have been very beneficial to me spiritually. So I hope you can join us. Well, thank you for joining me today here, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.